If you saw my most anticipated movies of 2018 video, do you remember how I said that Peter Rabbit was gonna somehow trick me into going to see Peter Rabbit? I don't wanna see Peter Rabbit, but I know I'm going to see Peter Rabbit. Like, I'm gonna be walking down the street, I'm gonna trip, fall, land in a theater, and when I get up, I'm watching Peter Rabbit. I am not making this up. I did not plan this. This was not something I knew beforehand. I went to a movie theater randomly to see a movie, and this happened. Y'all thought I was playing about Peter Rabbit was gonna get me to see his movie, right? You see what I'm seeing, right? It's Peter Rabbit, y'all. It's Peter Rabbit. I'm seeing your movie today, Peter Rabbit. Thumbs up. I told you. I told you, Joy. I told you. I told you.
I literally lost my ticket too.
You lost. You better find that ticket. We gotta go see Peter Rabbit. Or else he's right there. He's right behind me. You can't lie and say you're not gonna see his movie. Peter Rabbit sees all. Peter Rabbit in theaters. I told you he was gonna find me, and he found me. Peter Rabbit made me go see Peter Rabbit. I can't not buy a ticket to Peter Rabbit when Peter Rabbit is actually there. Peter Rabbit gonna get you. Hi, I'm Andre, I'm a black nerd with a review for you, better reviews. Peter Rabbit. I'm gonna give you the good, I'm gonna give you the bad, I'm gonna give you the nerdy. There may be spoilers in this, do you care? It's Peter Rabbit. And if you like me watching and reviewing movies that you will probably never see, make sure you subscribe to this channel. As a lot of you know, I was really nervous about seeing this movie because I was getting a lot of Garfield, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Smurfs vibes from this movie when I saw the trailers. The Peter Rabbit movie has an identity crisis. There are literally two different Peter Rabbit movies that are inside of the same movie, and it can never decide which Peter Rabbit movie it wants to be, which is a shame because there's one Peter Rabbit movie in this movie that I actually kind of like, and the other Peter Rabbit movie in this movie, not so much. First, the good. The animation of these rabbits are actually really well done. They look like anthropomorphic. They look like moving, talking rabbits, but they also look like rabbits. The fur looks really nice. They have great facial expressions. I also love that they constantly go back and forth between being on their hind legs and then hopping around like actual rabbits on all fours. And the movie also does some 2D animated sequences, which are really cool because they're done in the art style like the drawings in the original Peter Rabbit books. Better jokes in the movie than in the trailer. The trailer definitely showed you the worst of the Peter Rabbit humor. There's some random supporting characters. Some of them have some pretty funny lines. There's this running gag with a rooster. We always hear cock-a-doodle-doo when a rooster crows when the sun comes up, but in the movie, it tells you what the rooster is actually saying, and it's pretty hilarious, and it's a joke that keeps building and building throughout the course of the movie. They also have this pig that's trying to act all snooty, even has like a little nice coat on and walks on his hind legs like he's a high-sedity little pig, but then every single time food come out, he's just like, oh, back to my piggy ways! Don't gift that. There's a narrator in this movie that sometimes breaks the fourth wall with some of the humor. They also have some random characters who will throw a one-liner every now and then. Because it's all based in London, it has that kind of British dry wit humor sometimes, and I was actually enjoying that. I was like, okay, jokes that actually made me laugh. I was surprised. I was like, Peter Rabbit, did you just make me laugh? And then somebody in the theater just tickled me. Just like in the books, Peter Rabbit has three sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. They're pretty much limited to the older one, the one with the lisp, and the one that says crazy things. The one that says crazy things, which is Cottontail, voiced by Daisy Ridley. She's actually probably the best of the three because she just gets to say all this random stuff. And Peter Rabbit himself, voiced by James Corden, he gets a little Alvinish at times, but he never gets full on annoying. I think people were worried because the last time we heard him voice a cartoon character, or not everyone heard him because a lot of people avoided that movie, but the Emoji Movie, he was at high five emoji, and there's a lot of dialogue that he said in that was not really that good. I think in this movie, they gave him a script, so therefore, most of his dialogue sounds like it was written and not just random ad-libs. And also, when Peter gets out of control, people tell him. Like, he has his cousin, Benjamin Bunny, who just flat out will be like, Peter, you wrong for this. And Peter's like, oh shoot, I messed up. Oh man, and there's a part in this movie where they show what happened to Peter's dad. I think it's in the book as well. But they showed in the movie, there's a point where you see, I'm sorry, I'm gonna spoil it. Peter Rabbit's dad goes into the Mr. McGregor's farm to try to pick up some vegetables or whatever, and you don't see him because the wall is really high up, but you see Mr. McGregor looking down, and he picked that hoe up and he just goes, wham! And you're just like, durr! And then the next shot is him with a pie, and I think we can all guess who's in that pie. I was like, all right. Thumbs up for that. For a movie about Peter Rabbit, you know what characters I found very interesting in this movie? the humans. Domhnall Gleeson is the nephew of Mr. McGregor, old Mr. McGregor that you probably remember from the books or that you see in the first part of this movie. When he moves in, he meets Rose Byrne's character, whose name is Bee, clear reference to Beatrix Potter, the author of the books. And Bee in the movie is an artist, and some of the paintings that she does looks like the classic Peter Rabbit drawings. So I thought that was a little cute little nod there. They get to know each other, and it's actually kind of charming. They're trying to forge this relationship, and Thomas genuinely likes her. It's not like a ploy or a plot or anything. He really cares about her. He just hates these rabbits that's coming in his farm, whereas she loves the rabbits. He literally is trying to decide what is more important, getting with this girl or killing these rabbits. And there's even a point where he has a talk with Peter, and he's just like, look, Peter, I met this girl and I'm kind of liking her. I'm trying to get this going, and I'm thinking I'm turning over a new leaf and I want to leave you alone, but you keep messing with me. And if you poke too much, I gotta fight back. The human characters could have been very one note and very boring. We've seen those types of characters not really be that strong in other live action CGI movies. So I was glad to see that the movie put some emphasis on them. And every once in a while, man, this movie has a little bit of heart. Not as strong as Paddington, but you can see it kind of going in that direction, being a little bit more contemporary, but at the same time honoring and respecting the source material that it came from. It was almost there. Here's the bad. The animation is so good, but they have to constantly remind you the animation is so good because there's so many times when animals are just doing stuff. It's not really advancing the plot. It's not really even funny. It's just animals doing stuff. Let's see the animals dance. Let's see the animals party. Let's see the animals eat food and move around and throw food around. Because we can do it. It's animation. Like I said, some of the jokes in this movie, surprisingly good. Other jokes in this movie, exactly what I was expecting. There's a lot of physical humor in this, a lot of, hey, let's hurt a person or let's bump into things. And even when sometimes the movie has a really good joke, or at least like a little bit of a chuckle, it ruins that joke because it either has to completely over-explain the joke to the point where it's not funny anymore, or it does it multiple times. You probably saw the trailer. Thomas grabs a doorknob and it shocks him and he gets thrown back. It's actually funny the first time, but they do it multiple times with that character, and then they do it multiple times again later with another character, and you're just like, okay, how many times? And there's also a whole sequence where the rabbits throw vegetables at Thomas McGregor's junk. And it's that whole thing where he's having a conversation with someone else and she doesn't see that they're throwing stuff at his junk, so he's all like, yeah, I'm trying to have a conversation, but my balls hurt. That's in the movie. But no dabbing and no twerking, though. Peter Rabbit doesn't dab and Peter Rabbit doesn't twerk, so there's at least that. You can go see that in Ferdinand. I'm sorry, the Oscar-nominated Ferdinand. But there is a scene where Peter Rabbit wants to put a carrot up somebody's butt. I'm like, Peter Rabbit, seriously, chill out. If I wanted to see 50 Shades Freed, I would have gone 2 theaters down. Someone got a free trip to London making this movie because this movie is a complete London trip tax write-off. There's a whole huge ad in this thing to Harrods, and also there's a part of the movie where they're just like, we're gonna just have a random reason to show all the different sites of London. We're gonna call it a joke, but we're basically gonna show you all the London sites to basically cash a check for filming in London. Good play. But the biggest problem that this movie has, this movie cannot stop playing pop songs. And what's weird is that it actually has a nice score. There's times when you hear an orchestra and you're like, okay, this actually works with the tone of the movie. But as soon as that orchestra is like, we're gonna hit one more note, nope, bring in the jams. At one point, this movie is playing Americano, and it plays, kickstand, and then I will walk 500 miles, and then they throw out some Steal My Sunshine. You know that song? I know it's what for me if you steal my sunshine. The music is all over the place. There are so many pop songs in this movie that even Suicide Squad is looking at it and going, that's too many pop songs, man. And Margot Robbie is in both. There's even at one point where they play that, remember the name? You know, that 20% power, 10% pain, 90% being on top of your game. And they walk in slow-mo while they're playing that song. And I'm like, Sony, you did the exact same slow-mo walk and the exact same song in the Smurfs too. And it's sad that I remember that. Why do I remember that? And then to make it even weirder, there's these birds that sing in the movie, and what it'll do is it'll play the actual lyrics of the song, and then the song will continue, but then these birds will come in and they will sing new lyrics to the song to make it connect to what's happening in the movie. I know that does not make sense, but when you see it in the movie, it's also not gonna make sense. And then someone always hits the birds. That's a running gag that they drive into the ground. It's like this movie did not have enough confidence to say that we got something good here. We don't need to fall into our usual live action CGI movie tropes. to make this a good movie. Just choose a path. Even if you want to choose the path of being ridiculous and stupid and all the dumb jokes we're used to and all the dumb things we're used to, and that's what the whole movie is, fine. Do that. But at least do that throughout the entire movie. Doing that throughout parts of the movie and then actually having good stuff in the other parts of the movie, that's what was confusing. That confused me. And now for the nerdy. There are some scenes, particularly in the beginning of the movie, that are directly from the book, like the putting Peter Rabbit's jacket on the scarecrow and he having to get it back. There's a point where the fox that usually chases them, he's around, then he gets naked later for some reason. You gotta see it if you like naked foxes. I hear there's some people on the internet that do like naked foxes. No judgment though, do you. And even though this is mostly based on the Tales of Peter Rabbit, loosely mostly based on the Tales of Peter Rabbit, they did throw some other animal characters in there, which are characters from other Beatrix Potter books, so I thought that was a nice little homage. I'm pretty sure I saw a marijuana joke in this movie. There's one point where Peter Rabbit is sitting by a fire holding a carrot, and it totally looks like he's holding it like a joint, and he's having this like existential abstract thought type of talk. And then at one point he offers the carrot to another rabbit and she's like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, okay, that carrot is laced. But for all the good and for all the bad about this movie, there is one thing I gotta give this movie praise for. So in all of these types of films, there is usually a very quintessential third act cliche. You all know it. It's where one character has to run to the other character to stop them in a certain amount of time before they go away or whatever. This movie not only acknowledges the fact that that is a third act cliche, but it even says in the movie, we're gonna give you a highlights version of that type of cliche. And then on top of that, they do the most absurd, ridiculous version of that cliche. It's just a quick shot after shot after shot of how this character got from point A to point B, and it gets more and more ridiculous on each different shot. And I thought that was very creative. Definitely more creative than I was expecting from this movie, to take something that we know happens in these movies and then do the silliest version of that thing and do it in literally a few seconds. That's one thing that you got, Peter Rabbit, over everybody else. I give that to you. I know I was ready to come in here and just talk about Peter Rabbit's the worst thing ever, rah, 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 but you know what? It has some things in it that are good, but it also has some things in it that are exactly what I was expecting, and the movie just keeps constantly jumping back and forth between the two. But hey, if it ends up on Netflix or on cable, which I'm sure it will, it is not gonna hurt to watch it, and you might even like it a little bit better watching it at home, because Black Panther comes out next week and I don't want you going to see Peter Rabbit instead of seeing Black Panther. Go see Black Panther. Please do not go buy a ticket to Peter Rabbit on Black Panther movie weekend. If you do, I'm gonna find you. But if you don't buy one, he gonna find you. So you decide. Peter Rabbit gonna get you. Peter Rabbit gonna get ya! Thank you for watching this review, which I feel was all over the place, just like this movie. Click that subscribe button. Also ring that bell to be notified of future videos I make. Be part of that squad by the bell. I live like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. If you steal my sunshine.